All right. How are you today? I will be honest. I kind of felt a little in the dumps this morning. I was not feeling great about a lot of stuff, and just sort of this doldrums feeling. And I get it. It's been a rainy day here. There's a lot of bad news going on. Um, it's sort of just the kind of day I just not didn't want to get out of bed. Right, I just pulled the sheets over my cover, the covers over my face, and not do much. But I know that this is not an option for me, and I don't want it to be an option for me. So here's what I do about it, and I will share this with you because I'm gonna guess that maybe maybe not all the time, but you might feel this way sometimes. And now seems like a time when there's just a lot going on that you might not want to be involved with. So I'm Owen. Thank you again for stopping in. I really appreciate it. Before we get started, please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you're feeling socially distant, we can get digitally connected. Join the group, the Abundance Hackers group on Facebook. Just search Abundance Hackers on Facebook. I'm going to put this link here in the chat right now so that you can get that. We'd love to have you. Okay, so today I drove to the bank to deposit a check at the ATM, and I sort of was like, oh, okay, this is an exciting opportunity to get out of the house and do something. And I had never believed that getting in my car and driving for a couple blocks would be the highlight of my day, right? I realized I haven't been in my car for maybe almost 3 weeks now, right? Almost a month. I haven't even been in my car at all. And I looked around as I'm driving around, and I'm seeing the few people who are out on the street. I'm watching, like the people being distant, whoever is out there, and just starting to feel like, yeah, the reality is all of this is really setting in, right? Like this is what life is going to be like for at least the next couple of months, but probably the foreseeable future. And any updates and news that we're getting, right, are not about how this is going to end sooner than we expected. It's usually like it's going to go on a little longer than expected. So, I was feeling exhausted about all of this. Like it makes me feel exhausted when this is what it's going to be like, right? And that we're sort of closed in. I'm feeling the walls start to close in a little bit. And it's crazy because, I even worked from home for a long time, but even this is really starting to get to me. Now, I know that I can let it get to me, though, or I can keep doing what I'm doing and push forward to really get up over that hump. It's the same thing that I do whenever I run into this problem many times during the week, normally when there isn't a crazy virus lockdown going on. But I find now it's really, really important, especially on days like today. Like it was just rainy outside today. Like it was just definitely the kind of day of like, screw everything, write it all off. Not an option for me. And if you don't want it to be an option for you, then here's what you can do as well. So I basically do three things every day, and this is what helps me get going. So the very first one is in the morning, get out of bed. Get out of bed, I get dressed, get cleaned up, and I shave my face. Even though even though I'm not really going anywhere, like especially now, I find it really, really important to have this kind of morning routine to get me up and moving. And it's, it can be difficult when you don't have an employer or somebody who's calling you asking you to do that. When you basically only have to do it to get up for yourself, that's trickier, right? And it was hard for me at the beginning, but I've come to learn that when I do this for myself, then it's almost even more valuable. And I start the day by valuing myself, by getting cleaned up, by getting myself ready for the day, and it helps me shake out of those doldrums a little bit. The other thing I do is I like to pick just three things every day that I want to get done. Now, don't get me wrong, I got a long, long, long list, and maybe you do too, or maybe you don't have a long list. Maybe you got nothing on your list, and that's the problem. And someday, right, that can be the issue. That can be the issue. Pick just three things. that you want to get done, even if it's just three out of the long list or just three that you come up with, and they don't have to be big things. I'm not talking about like paint the house, refloor the bathroom. That's not what I'm talking about. Those three things. It can be very simple things, right? It can be just as simple as spend 20 minutes reading a book, take a walk outside, have a conversation with a friend. But just three things. Three things is usually all anybody can get done in a day anyway. And finding those key topics or those things that you want to get done, at least you will have a sense of accomplishment. I know I feel accomplished when I can check things off my list, even if they're very, very simple things, right? Like one of the things that I like to do every single day is meditate for 20 minutes. That's a thing, right? And I can check that off. Sometimes it seems like, oh, I can just write this off or I don't need to do that or what have you. But when I do that, I have a sense of accomplishment. It takes me just 20 minutes to do it. I feel great. It's an easy enough thing to do, right? So you pick three things that you want to get done in a day, whatever you want. And then the other one is, especially now, right? We're talking about being a hermit, a quarantine hermit. Social distancing is an incredible phenomenon in that it causes us to break the connections that we had with each other. It's like you're not going to go shake someone's hand when you go meet them. You're not even going to meet them at all, right? Not going to hug somebody. All of these people that you might have had in your life that were really close to, right? We're all separate now, right? So I've told you before, I'm part of this men's team, and traditionally before we were all socially distant, we would all meet together in a park, and it was really great to have that connection once a week in person and to really get together with the men on my team and connect. And Zoom is well and good, right? But it is no excuse for physical connection, or just in-person connection. And it's important to not forget these skills. So what I do every day is I have a conversation with at least two other people. And I recommend for you, if you want to try this, two other people who are not in your household, right? Two other people you're not quarantined with at the moment. We have to work even harder right now to stay connected, to stay in touch, and to not lose that connection that we have with each other as we're socially distancing. So I make sure, and for me, and I'll say this, it's super easy for me sometimes to just disconnect from the world, right? And it's really kind of addicting almost sometimes, that being alone, being separated. But it's no good. It's no good, and we can all get really, really used to it. And what's going to happen when all of this ends and we're back to connecting again in person, right? So I highly recommend talking to two other people every day, whether it be on the phone, you can have messenger conversations, something like that. But just have a connection with two other people. We're not in the house. All right. I can control my routine during the day. Like if the whole world is falling apart like it is right now, nobody knows what's really going on. It seems to be just getting worse and worse by the day. I can't control that. I have no effect over any of that. And if I allow that to affect my mood and to encourage me to just withdraw from the world and from the bad news and everything, then I'm not in control of my life any longer, right? Like I'm not in control. I am letting the situation control how I feel and how I live my life from day to day. But when I have a routine, when I have these things that I do every day, right? When I get up in the morning and I get cleaned up, I shave my face, I get dressed, I get those three things on my list that I want to get checked off, and I have a conversation with two other people, right? I have now made a choice of how I want my day to look. I understand the circumstances in which it's happening that I don't have full control over, but I do have control over how I navigate my day and how I do that. And above all, it helps me when I get in those moods like I had this morning of all I want to do is just shut the windows, shut everything down, turn off the lights and disconnect, which is not who I really want to be ultimately, right? It helps me get through those moments of the doldrums, which I know I'm sure probably plenty with you right now as they are getting with me. So, but how are you doing? How are you doing? I hope that you are staying safe and healthy. Let me know what you're doing in quarantine, how this is affecting you. And I know certainly as the novelty of some of this wears off, like it was in a weird twisted way, for me, when it's all started, there's a little bit of excitement to this, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is a very different world. There's all very changing, whatnot. But now as we're realizing that no, we are here for the long haul. And certainly I'm feeling that pressure now. Um, it's important. It's important for me to not become a quarantine hermit, and I hope that the same is true for you. So tell me how you're doing. I hope that you're doing okay, and I will talk to you tomorrow.